call to order the September 26, 2024 Lancaster County Board of Supervisors meeting. May we stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay. I'm getting ready to open up the floor to the public input session. That's anything that you want to talk about that's not already on the agenda. Do you have a sign-up sheet for that? Oh, okay. All right. Let me remind you, you only have 3 minutes to speak. So get right to the point so you can tell us exactly what you want us to know. Okay? All right, so Mrs. Barbara Smith. Public input session is now open. Mrs. Barbara Smith.
Hi there.
Hello. Hi.
My name is Barbara Smith. I'm from District 5. Had a backyard shooting incident a Sunday ago. Out in the yard, 2 people firing as hard as they could for 7 hours. Ended up calling the sheriff's department. In speaking with Mr. Lee, I thought he was my representative. I'm sorry. I did. Okay. Somebody told us Mr. Lee. I'm glad you called him, though. I know, but I know where you live, so that's all different. So anyway, in speaking with him and in speaking with the dispatcher, realized that there's a noise ordinance. I know you all probably worked long, hard, but that does nothing to help with people that get it in their backyard, more than one, shoot for, as I said, and that's not the first weekend, but that was the longest time when I called the deputies, 7 hours straight. So what I'm asking you, and I see all these folks out here waiting for you all, I know you can't do it immediately. I know it's going to take time, planning, seeing what the state laws of Virginia require. Please try to do something about that. It was maddening. It was maddening to have that going on all day long. And I don't think I'm all for everybody having their guns, folks. All for it. But I don't think anybody has the ownership over the atmosphere, over the entirety of the day. It is just an assault on the senses when it does not stop, only long enough to load. So I'm just asking if you all will take my request into consideration, try to figure out something to do about the whole backyard shooting. Everybody just get out and get your gun and blast away. Can I hope for that? Everybody?
We hear you. We hear
Okay,
you.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
And I can leave now, right?
Anyone else for public input, sir? Anyone online? All right. Public input session is now closed. We're now going to VDOT.
Got a crowd tonight.
Yes?
How are y'all doing?
Good. Oh, closer.
I think David sent y'all a update of what we've done, and a few more things have gotten done. The pipe repair on Camps Mill was completed this week. The secondary mowing is probably right about halfway done. Luckily, the weather's held out this week, and they've got right much of that done, and picking up trash too. And this will be the last mow, so we're making sure that, everything looks good and that, all the trash is picked up. And I think all of the paving is probably still some lines and stuff that they need to complete. I did see them putting the shoulder stone down on 200 this week, so most of that's kind of wrapping up. That's about all I have. Does anybody have anything for me?
Gentlemen, y'all have any questions, comments? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I think Jason
I got a
Jay,
couple
you
of
got
things,
one?
yeah. Just when you're doing the mowing down there in Akron, on Poplar Neck and that Two Chases Road corner, the growth is kind of grows up there, and they need to cut like a wider buffer so you can see down that road further.
Okay.
And then the other thing, when you're turning out of like the corner there in Whitestone, either out of the corner, turning out of from Irvington Road, turning back onto Route 3, either coming out of that road or Chesapeake Donuts. There's a tree there in the yard that's kind of overgrown, and it's really hard to see cars coming into Whitestone, and it's very dangerous there.
So it would be on the Kilmarnock side?
No, if you're on, say, where Chesapeake Donut is on Irvington Road, and you're turning onto Route 3, and you're making a left or right turn, really, it's in the lot right next to the donut shop going toward Kilmarnock.
Okay,
It's overgrown, and it seems like it's a hazard.
okay. We'll see what we can do.
Anyone else, anything else? Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank y'all.
Good. All right. Now, we opening up for presentations. School construction and activity update, Ms. Davis or Mr. Pittman? Are you, okay, Mr. Pittman.
Gonna give me PC2, Glenn?
I've got like 30 slides tonight too, so.
Just kidding. You've already planted lavender?
It's gonna take just a second or two for the projector to warm up.
Yeah, so things are, we're on schedule as far as the school goes. Is that better? Yeah, so things are progressing well. We're on schedule with the school. Nothing really outside of what, we expect to be. You can go on to the next slide. This is the 2-week look ahead for Branch. You can see what we've got going on. Some rough-in plumbing, a lot of concrete work, and some block work going on. The athletic field's pretty much on grade at this point, so I've been hearing a lot of comments about all the dirt going back and forth. That's slowing down, so what you're looking at as far as the football field will be the grade on that. You can get to the next slide. So this was a drone shot taken last month. Just kind of give you a real quick snapshot of what's taken place over the past 4 weeks. You can get to the next slide. And this is this week, and you can see the progress that's taken place over the past few weeks, and things are sort of taking shape. Everybody's seeing the towers go up. Over there, they're the stairwells for the school on each end of the school, and there'll be an elevator shaft that I'll show a little bit later on. You get to the next slide. So this is the front entrance going into the school. It's not a whole lot to see at this point, but you can make out the gym on the left-hand side and the auditorium on the right. Get to the next slide. This just gives you an idea of what's going on underneath the walls. There's a lot of rebar, a lot of work taking place underneath the walls that are going up. And this is the first tower that's going up stairwell, sort of on the southeast side of the campus. And like I said, there'll be another one on the other side of the school as well.
Next.
It's just, yeah, we can go around. It's sort of walking around. This is on the back side of that stairwell. You can see some of the rough-in plumbing that's taking place. And you can kind of get a sense of the scale. It's hard to, tell from the drone shots, and especially from Route 200, the size of the school. But, it's a big building. Go ahead. And that's a shot of the elevator shaft. I think when you hit it again, it'll just highlight it down. Just shows where the elevator will be in proximity to it's located in the center of the school. Yeah, I think that'll just show that. You can go to the next slide. Again, another overall drone shot. just showing the progress update with what's going on. Again, everything's on schedule. I don't know if you guys have any comments or questions at this point. See anything? Thank you.
Mr. Bateman, County Parks Project update.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, going to give you a progress report on Windmill Point project at Westland Beach. This is the project sign that's been erected on site, and a reminder to the public that the site is closed for construction at the moment. It's a slide. One moment. Okay. Excuse me. There we go. This is an aerial view of the completed breakwaters A and B. Just showed this because it's got a beautiful sunset. I'm going to give you a glimpse of what this project could look like when it's done. This same breakwaters A and B completed in front of the landings apartments. You can see they're dismantling the turbidity curtain. This is a view from the land that shows where the ramp will begin on the shore leading up to the pier that runs through Breakwater C. This is a land view that shows the pier piling stakes being set that go through Breakwater C, and you're kind of looking straight down that first segment of the pier where the pier will go. This is a land view of the pier pilings through Breakwater C that have been completed and set in place. And here's an aerial view of the pier pilings through Breakwater C, and you can see Breakwaters D, E, and F under construction, and they've contained it with the turbidity curtain around those breakwaters where construction's occurring now. Here's a reverse aerial view of breakwaters D, E, and F that are under construction. I believe these pictures were taken earlier this week. And then this is a project-wide aerial view. And then I was going to close out with a video. This is a drone video shot by our Director of Emergency Services, Matt Smith. Well, there is audio. Nice soundtrack.
And this is on YouTube, too.
And this is also on YouTube, and we're working to get it up on the county YouTube site, hopefully. But you can see even the breakwaters that are incomplete are already kind of doing their intended job.
Yeah.
And it'll back out and show the entire project from the west to the east. Got some revelers out there playing in the sand.
It's open just for that day.
All right. Well, this is a close to 3-minute video. I don't know if we need to show the entire thing.
I think that's pretty good.
All right, good deal.
All right, gentlemen, you have any questions of Mr. Bateman?
Well, I'd like to make a comment.
All right.
If you guys haven't been down there since we did the groundbreaking, you need to go down there. It's been quite a transformation down there. I was there, and it's really unbelievable, what's been done in the past 3 weeks.
They have made a lot of progress. Where are we on the different phases of that project and the rest of the projects?
I can jump in here. I know you and I have talked previously. We're meeting with the county's contracted architects and engineers monthly to kind of keep things moving, put the pressure on, so to speak. And we met Tuesday, I believe, no, Monday, with them in Urbana, and they are about, Bay Design is about 95% complete with the Phase 2, which is the parking lot and the bathhouse. And once that is complete, Guernsey Tingle is probably 60% complete on the bathhouse design. As I told you earlier, they expect to go out to bid in January with this. We tried to push it up, but they said it's really no way to do that. One project that the county will be going out to bid before the end of the year is on the expansion of the Kilmarnock Convenience Center site. Those plans have been complete. We've got VDOT approval on the entrance. We will need to consider a VDOT resolution of abandonment of a portion of that road, but that will come later. Ben Burton with Bay Design Group has set tentatively your December meeting on December the 12th as tonight you would approve the award of bid for that project.
Can we hold their feet to the fire and get a timeline to make sure that that gets before, because if the RFP gets issued, say, mid-January, that won't, we need to make sure it gets to this board for a decision by the February meeting in order to really open this park next year.
Yeah, well, I mean.
That's going to still be pushing it.
Yeah, I tried to see if they could get it done to go out to bid before the end of the year, and they said they couldn't do
Because
it.
it doesn't seem overly complicated here.
Well, there's a lot of stormwater calculations and design work. You're just, 3 feet above sea level there, and there's quite a bit of fill for the parking area. And there's other, we really got down in the weeds on Monday talking about where water lines were going to go, because we'll take water line out to the pier for a fish cleaning station, talking about where the cutoff valves would be, because, you don't want to have to close anything down to winterize it and shut it down. The bathhouse would be conditioned so that would be, open year-round. It's just it's a lot of, details that have to be gone over, and Olivia was with me at that meeting on Monday, and we're going to do that monthly.
Let's just keep the meetings up and the pressure on.
We're doing it. Carter's Cove, they expect Bay Design is about probably 85% complete on the design plans for that, and then once they're complete, Guernsey Tingle has to finalize their design of the museum / working waterfront museum and the picnic shelter. Also have to go to VMRC with a JPA permit for the courtesy pier, boat ramp, and the T-head on the existing pier there, as well as the canoe kayak pier. So they're looking at probably a February or March timeline to go out to bid on that one. And Taylor's Creek, probably same timeline. There's quite a bit of grading that would need to be done on one section where, pretty close to where the canoe kayak launch will go. They had originally wanted to go with riprap, but we convinced them that a living shoreline feature would be better there. And Olivia and Bruce Julian, who's here tonight, as chair of our Public Access Committee, actually went out on a boat, took pictures around that eroded area, and we had those available at the meeting. So probably, as I said, same timeline, February, March of '25, going out to bid for that project as well.
Anything else?
So Don, the kayak launch is still in at Taylor's Creek? I was thinking that was coming out.
No, it's still in. One path was removed. That steep path that went down, that was removed because it was redundant since there was another path, much less steep path going to it.
This is a lower one.
This-
Less slope.
Yes, less slope to get to the,
Not the rocket launch?
Yeah. Looked like the log ride. It was.
that was removed.
Yeah.
So, and the only thing I would add is that, and it might not be any wiggle room in it, but if there comes a time with Bay Design or Guernsey Tingle when they're looking at one project versus the other project, Westland Beach ought to take
We did. We told them that's priority number one. Phase two of that is priority number one, and Taylor's Creek and Carter's Cove both are priority two.
Because currently we'll be looking at essentially 6 months of time before you can get on the pier.
Yeah.
What's the expected reopening of the beach area
For Windmill Point.
for Wheel Point?
The completion date was, it's supposed to be April of 2025, but the contractors tell me they'll be finished well before that.
I mean, I expect they'll be done in the next month or so, depending weather.
Well, I don't know about that, because it's a lot of, they got to dredge the channel, and then it's a lot of beach nourishment, sand. I mean, they broke up all the concrete from the old hotel foundation and have used the existing growing rock that was there as the base material for the breakwaters that they're building, and then they're top dressing them with, the new riprap. And then they have to come in and put all that beach nourishment in. And then we have to vegetate the dunes that'll be right behind the beach area. So it's still quite a bit of work to be done.
Okay, moving along. All right, we're getting ready to go into the public hearing area section of the meeting. And at this particular time, I will say again, we each have 3 minutes to speak. At the end of 2 minutes, I will hold the sign up letting you know, thank you, letting you know that you have 1 minute left. Again, I say, please get right to the point. Try not to repeat yourself, but just tell us what you want us to hear and consider. All right. At this particular time, Mr. Gill?
I'm going to pass it to Ms. Hall for this, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for your consideration a major revision to a previously approved master plan by the by New Tides LLC for the former Tides Lodge property located at the terminus of St. Andrews Lane on tax map 27B31, 27B41, 27B41A, and 27B41B. The Tides Lodge property is located in District 5. Staff recommends favorable consideration of this request. The current master plan for this site, originally approved in 2004, provides for a high-density condominium building containing 65 units. However, after much deliberation and review of the property and surrounding area, the owner has decided to pursue a lower-density plan composed of 25 separate condominium units. These 2- and 3-story homes will be more in keeping with existing residential development on Carter's Creek, such as the Green. Some elements of the original plan will be carried forward, including a marina operation with 56 slips to accommodate residents and guests, and an activities building with a swimming pool to provide a gathering space for residents and guests. In addition to the elimination of the 65-unit residential condominium, the revision also eliminates the one existing residence and the restaurant. This reduction in density will further reduce traffic volume from the historic usage, creating a more compatible level of traffic activity for the neighboring R1 and R2 residential uses. Provided for you in this packet are copies of the proposed concept plan, the original approved master plan, proffered conditions from the rezone to R2, and the demolition plan. The existing site included 61,118 square feet of impervious area demoed inside the resource protection area. The previously approved master plan proposed 46,336 square feet of impervious area inside the RPA. This revision to the master plan proposes a further reduction of impervious area inside the RPA down to 45,825 square feet. Upon approval of this plan, full engineering design documents will be completed to verify all impervious areas, stormwater management design, and compliance with Virginia DEQ and VDOT requirements. Additionally, final engineering design will accommodate all county zoning and code requirements, including requirements for open space, density, setbacks, height regulations, sign regulations, off-street parking, a revised traffic impact study, and compliance with the county subdivision ordinance, Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance, and of course the erosion and sediment control ordinance. Wastewater treatment for this development will be performed by the current North Tides wastewater treatment plant utility, which is owned and operated by New Tides. Potable water was previously provided and will continue to be provided at this site by Aqua of Virginia. At the time of the drafting of this memo, staff had not received any written public comments regarding this request. This public hearing was advertised and adjoining property owners notified as required by law.
Okay. Gentlemen, before I open it up to the floor for comments, do you have any questions of Ms. Hall or comments to make? Okay, hearing none.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
have one question, that's all. Had this new plan, I'll call it a new plan for lack of a better word, been submitted back at the original time that the original plan was submitted, would it have met the requirements of the Lancaster County Code at that time?
Yes, sir, it would have.
Okay, good. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add that the applicant has a representative here tonight, Mr. Matt Smith, same name as our EMS chief, but he's here as well if you have any questions for him.
Okay. You want to speak before I open it up to the floor or after I close it out?
Sir, I think that after is fine.
Okay.
Appreciate the board, appreciate the staff.
All right, thanks. Okay. Again, when I open it up to the floor, you have 3 minutes to speak. At the end of 2 minutes, I will hold up this sign letting you know you have 1 minute left. As I said before, I emphasize this, get right to the point. Don't keep repeating yourself. Just get right to the point. Tell us what you want us to consider. All right, at this particular time, the floor is now open for public comments. And the first one on the sign-up sheet is Mr. Charlie Costello.
Charlie Costello, District 2. Jimmy, you said that this would comply with the thing, but as you look at that, can you put up what the RPA looks like around that? I think you're mostly within the RPA, aren't you, Olivia?
You are partially in the RPA.
How much?
If you look, you can see the gray line there.
I can't see it.
Okay.
No, I mean it. I'm not being facetious.
Right.
You say there's a gray line, but
Yes, sir.
quite frankly, it doesn't really
In my memo,
stand out.
it shows a reduction.
I know, of 500 square feet. It's 50 by 10. It's the size of my deck, my house. Doesn't really show up very much. The other question is, you talk about 2-story homes and 3-story homes. My question is, are these individual homes, or are these condo units 2 to a 2-story and 3 to a 3-story condos?
It's one dwelling per unit.
One
So
dwelling.
there's one dwelling per house that's being built.
Okay, so it is, I don't know why it's a 3-story house, especially if it's going to be retired. But anyway, that was my question, because you talked about the density and so on. You're going to be down a little bit, but not greatly. But you answered my questions, but I still think the RPA is being raped. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, sir. All right.
Just for clarification, this line right here is the RPA line.
Okay, that's what I saw when I looked at the thing, but I was interested in the other people seeing where that went. I didn't think they could see it either.
If I may add something, Mr. Chairman, this plan complies with Bay Act ordinance for the county. You are allowed to trade that impervious area that was demoed for new impervious area.
Okay, thank you.
And there is a net reduction.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
500 square feet.
Anyone else want to speak from the audience on this particular one? Anyone online? Okay. You, lady, gentleman, you may speak. We're listening. Hello? Are you muted? Okay. Yes, and hear you now.
Hi, my name's Greg Gorlick. I'm at 32 Gulf Lane, District 5, so I'm a resident kind of up the road from this development. I just want to understand the impact that all the new residents will have on the walking paths, like the old golf course golf path, the infrastructure, because we'll have a lot of residents will come in. So I support the endeavor, but I want to know that the Tides Inn is still going to make sure that those walking paths and the road infrastructure is going to be maintained to support the new level of residence.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the gentleman at the end here to explain that, or, not right now, but when we're finished, okay? All right, anything else, sir? That's it?
Very much.
Thank you, thank you. All right, anyone else online?
No, sir.
Okay. At this particular time, I consider this input session here closed. Just, sir, come on.
Hello, thank you. I'm Matt Smith. So to try to address the questions that came up, a couple questions there on the 2 or 3 story homes. Yeah, as I said, those are individual dwellings. It really would present itself the way we have the design right now. We have 2 floor plans that we're considering. One of them is about 3,500 square feet, the other one a little bit under 5,000 square feet. It'd be a story and a half home, so something that looks like the other homes you would see at the Green or in that neighborhood. We looked at this and we decided there's no appetite to do a 62 or 65 unit building, that we think that a residential development like this would be much more harmonious with the community and make a lot more sense. So to answer that question, the ones that present themselves as 3-story would actually be a story and a half and then a walkout basement. So some of these lots are a little bit steeper. We kind of end up with a basement anyway, and so we would have a walkout basement. It's not 3 stories above grade. It would be a story and a half above grade. By a half, I mean there would be dormers and there would be rooms in the roof space. As far as, we addressed the Bay Act plan. So yes, we're showing a reduction in the RPA. There's a lot of work that has to happen once you guys say go, and we do all the civil engineering, but obviously we'll comply with every ordinance we need to comply with. Furthermore, I think that it's been stressed to me by the owners of the Tides that we really want to be good stewards of this land and this property. They've done a big investment in living shoreline. On the other side, there's a big eroded bluff at the south end of this plan right now that we want to deal with, and so we anticipate some living shoreline components here. It's been stressed to me that the landscape for this needs to be something that's also native and generally good for the water and good for the land. So this is really kind of a further investment by the Tides in the community, and I anticipate that every dollar that comes out of this is reinvested in the Tides to continue to make it what it's been for the community for the next 50, 100 years. In terms of the old golf paths, so that's this parcel, if you will. When you look at this map, it's colored for the section that we're considering today, which is what had the former condo approvals that we're modifying. The golf course is everything to the right, and they're separate parcels. It's a little bit of a head scratcher on what happens with that golf course property over time. For right now, it's status quo. The Tides right now does some bush hogging and maintains those cart paths, and nothing about that is changing as part of this action. At some time in the future, we need to evaluate what we want to do with that. There's been a lot of conversations. The Tides is really interested in using their inland resources to do things that are good for recreation. They've hired a horticulturalist, and we have a big garden on the other side. So there's been a lot of conversation, but nothing concluded, and that isn't a part of this action today. If there's anything else, I'm happy to answer it. Happy to give anybody my number. Don't call me if there's an emergency, but otherwise, if it's about this, you can call me.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you all.
Smith.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one thing, just so you'll know, the previous master plan included a replacement restaurant for the Binnacle. This revision does not include a restaurant, so just so you're clear on that, this revision does not include the restaurant that was approved in the prior master plan.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve this major revision to the previously approved master plan by the New Tides. And just to say that they are such an important part of our community.
Yes.
And if this helps them financially, it's really a no-brainer for us.
All right. All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's a motion passed unanimously. All right, let's go to the second one. All right, Ms. Oliver?
Thank you,
Olivia Hall. Oliver. And I have glasses today.
I can't see. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you this evening a public hearing to consider a major revision to a previously approved master plan by Carter Financial Corporation for the Hills Quarter subdivision located on tax map 28-86. Hills Quarter is located in District 4. Staff recommends favorable consideration of this request. This proposed major revision to the previously approved Hills Quarter subdivision master plan includes the addition of 137 lots of similar size to the existing 297 lot subdivision. These additional lots would be located in 4 areas that were previously part of the former golf course and driving range. The subject property is zoned R2 and is located in the county's primary growth area, as designated in the county's comprehensive plan. The total site area included for your consideration consists of 302.93 acres. Of this, 108.78 acres is currently developed with new single-family detached homes making up 13.2% of this total. There are approximately 36 lots remaining under the original master plan approval. This revision to the master plan satisfies the original R2 zoning requirements. Originally, R2 zoning and clustering of the development allowed for services and developable land to be utilized more efficiently. Clustering also allowed for the necessary infrastructure improvements to be provided in a more cost-effective and condensed area and for larger tracts of open space to be conserved. This revision will still provide 95.54 acres of open space buffer, which is 31.5% of the total acreage. This open space is approximately 2/3 of the subject property and is proposed to be proffered by the applicant as an open space buffer for the exclusive use of the homeowners. Staff reviewed the original Hills Quarter master plan approval and found no proffers limiting additional development. The master plan clearly provides for future development on page 14 under the heading Analysis of Development Factors. The issuance of a land disturbance permit for this project will be contingent upon VDOT and VDEQ approvals. All roads will be designed to meet VDOT standards with the intention of acceptance of these roads into the state system. All lots will have municipal water and sewer provided by the town of Kilmarnock per a recorded water and sewer agreement. To date, staff have received 1 written public comment, which was attached, and since this was written, there have been a few more, and those were also provided for you. Staff did field 2 phone calls requesting more information on the public hearing and provided copies of the drawings included in your packet to 2 homeowners in the Hills Quarter subdivision. This public hearing was advertised and the Hills Quarter HOA was notified by separate mailing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Gentlemen, before opening it up to the floor for public comment, do you have any questions of this whole or statements?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. Again, as in the previous one, if this additional had been submitted under the original site plan, would it have met all requirements at that time?
Yes, sir. The density for R2 is 3 dwelling units per acre. As this is designed now, it's 1.43 dwelling units per acre.
All right. 4, 3. Okay. Remember, the floor is now open for comments. Remember your time constraints. All right. Mr. Blunt, Jack Blunt.
You got
Chairman, I have copies of
Oh, copies. Okay.
what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'll pass them to Mr. Lee. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mr. Carter's request to make a major revision in the Hills Quarters master plan approved by you in 1998. My name is Jack Blunt, President of the Hills Quarters Operating Board of Directors and longstanding friend of Jimmy Carter's. In August of 2019, Jimmy acquired Hills Quarters from Union Bank after it had foreclosed on the property in June of 2010. 9 years of no leadership was not fun. A lot has happened since Jimmy arrived. We have new neighbors to the master plan, mainly Compass Entertainment, Northern Neck Mechanical, Tri-Trail, in the county with the new high school and middle school. The proposal before you tonight includes the old driving range area and holes 8 and 9 for the 61 homes that he's requesting. On holes 2 and 6 of the golf course, he is asking for 71 homes. Jimmy was able to find some additional space on the golf course and is asking to add 5 more lots, making a total of 137 to the old master plan. In addition, he's requesting mixed usage zoning of hole number 1, which to us is news. We've never heard about mixed use on the old hole number 1 of the golf course. Owners that bought homes on the golf course thinking and being told by the developer they would never have a house behind them, but now they will have new neighbors and no view. It's just not right. Let's talk about what the revision to the master plan does. The property where the 137 homes are to be built has never been part of Hills Quarters. It was approved as an 18-hole golf course in a conservation area. I understand it is now R2, which changed its original intent without a public hearing to my knowledge. That property was operated as a golf course until Jimmy acquired it. He chose to close it. It was a losing proposition. We don't condemn him for that. States an ownership of a lot, in our Hills Quarters covenants of Hill, it states that ownership of a lot does not entitle a lot owner to any legal or equitable interest in the golf club. However, he is requesting you to add the new 137 houses to the original 297 that you approved back in 1998 and add it to the master plan. There were some studies made. Right now, the inventory that Mr. Carter and States and Homes has is enough homes to last 3 years, okay, to build out at the rate that they're closing on homes. I don't see the need to rush this. I don't know why we're jumping forward on this as quick as we are. It's just not fair. And there are no amenities in the request that Mr. Carter has made. He wants to use our clubhouse, wants to use the pool, the pickleball courts, the tennis courts. I would think with this many houses, he would want to add some amenities to that.
Now, sir, your time has expired. How much time do you need now?
I have less than a minute, sir.
Okay.
There was a traffic flow study done on this project. And what's interesting was that the vehicles moving from 4 to 6 in the afternoon was what was used in the traffic study. Think about it for a minute. From 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., the school buses, plus 150 students and faculty members driving on the premises, plus the new Hills Quarters traffic, and the morning crash drop-off at the landfill on the way to work creates the most traffic flow. Lastly, there's a real cloud over this proposal as to whether or not Jimmy, as the declarant, has the right to bring golf course property under the governing documents of the Hills Quarters master plan, and does the county have the same right to allow it to happen? This is the real question. So more than half of the lot owners and homeowners in Hills Quarters that have contacted me were asking you to either table this request for further discussion between Jimmy and a committee of Hills Quarters residents, or stop the proliferation of Hills Quarters and not approve the proposal. The master plan of 1998 was a good, sensible, and workable plan. Let's not destroy it. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Smart? Mr. Robert Smart?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Robert Smart, my wife Gina, and I currently reside in District 1 where we vote. After I had a stroke 2 years ago, Gina and I bought a home in Hills Quarter closer to RGH. That seemed appropriate. Gina and I have read Mr. Blunt's response to the proposal to amend the previously approved master plan for Hills Quarter, and we agree with Mr. Blunt. Hills Quarter is a beautiful community with ideal density, and we hope to keep it as such. Changes to this might go into the realm of bait and switch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we go to the next one, I like what Mr. Smart just did. He didn't repeat what Mr. Blunt just said. He just said he agreed with it, because we all heard what Mr. Blunt said, and we got it in writing. So I agree with that. All right, I like that. All right, so let's see, who's next? Mr. Robert Fleet III.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Robert Fleet, and I'm speaking on behalf of my mother, Virginia Fleet, who lives at 236 Mount Jean, and is in opposition of the Carter Financial Master Plan adjustment, which will add 46% more lots than the original proposal. I realize that as elected officials, you have to consider hardships and benefits to all parties. That includes developers and the homeowners. When Mr. Carter purchased the property at Hills Quarters Master Plan was a public document that he used for his decision of whether or not it was a good business move, and it included 297 lots. He closed the golf course, which was part of Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the master plan. And as a new owner, I guess he had that right, but what rights do the homeowners have? The homeowners that purchased a home in the golf course community with a working golf course at the time. According to the staff have given you a favorable recommendation, they have mentioned the master plan as well as R2 zoning. Well, let's take a look at the master plan on page 14 that was noted in the packet that you were given. And it says, we envision development to occur in phases. Initially, Phase 1 will include the front 9 of the golf course. That's been closed. In Phase 2, the following additional will include residential development and the second 9 holes of the golf course. That too has been closed. Phase 3, which I assume is how they determined it was a favorable recommendation, says it is slated for future development. Further in the master plan, let's go to page 18. And on page 18, it talks about phasing of the development. And it says Phase 1 will have 46 single-family homes and 45 cluster homes. If you've driven through Hills Quarter, I don't know what type of cluster homes are there. I can't see them. It also talks about the development will have a number of assisted living and retirement units that will be located in the back parcel of the commercial area. I don't see those being built either. It continues on and says that the total residential of Phase 1 and Phase 2 will include 297 homes. Mr. Carter knew this when he built it, when he bought the property. Approximately 116 of the 297 homes will be cluster-type housing. By using this development technique, that would mean 64% of Phase 1 and Phase 2 will be left open. Let's keep it that way. He closed the golf course when he bought the property. In closing, Hills Quarter was designed and Mr. Carter purchased knowing that there were 297 lots. Now you're asking the homeowners to accept 46% more homeowners with no golf, no additional amenities to include these new homeowners, and I would ask you to not just table it, but to please deny the request by Mr. Carter, because he knew when he bought it what he was buying. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Now, sometimes I can't pronounce the names correctly, or I can't read the writing. You know, so, Mr. Robert, K-A-M, I think it's M-E-R-E-R. Right. And forgive me, sir, for not being able to pronounce your last name. Okay.
So hard.
Thank you for listening to me. I'm new to down here. I've been here 10 years. That's new. You can see by the group, they're all my age. They're all homeowners, yes? Yes. I just have to say that when Jimmy Carter started this project, or when he took it over, and I don't know the politics that brought us to where we are today, but it's a beautiful piece of property. It's been well maintained. You've got a lot of happy homeowners. And what has happened is, and You know, I can't believe we're here already in a situation where we are in a, oh my God, that happened situation. Because where I come from in New Jersey, we'd be 3 years before we even got to this meeting. But my point is, I don't think we've been fairly represented. We've been fairly informed. We've been blindsided on a lot of things. The school, not that we're against it, but it's part of our new future that we own our homes around. And somebody needs to look at it from a bigger picture. And part of that bigger picture is infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure for the quantity of houses we're even talking about. I tried to put a meeting together so we could talk about this, and I called Jack to put the meeting together, and he said, Bob, we can't have more than 100 people in our clubhouse. Now, we're going to have 297 homes at two people per home minimum. What do we do with our meetings? Go to a public meeting someplace? That's the infrastructure that you're dealing with. And we already have water problems. We have water pressure problems. We have water supply problems. We're fighting with our water, which we get from Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock's water is a problem. And also septic. We pay septic to Kilmarnock. That bill that we pay septic, they're constantly in the paper telling us about they got to spend more money on the sewer plant because they can't keep it up to the current quantity of use of the project. Please take your time. I'm done. Take your time, and please don't make a decision without knowing all the facts.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, sir. Ms. Barbara Thomas.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Barbara Thomas. I live in Hills Quarter at 38 Lloyds in District 4. I have heard Mr. Blunt's comments. I agree with them. I would ask, though, that this project be denied. I'm a little different than all of the other residents. I actually went to this property when it was a pig farm. I grew up within 5 miles of this project. I've ridden past it my whole life. I ice skated on the ponds. And when they opened up the second section, I was the first one to buy a lot in 2005. And in all of that time, I have abided by all of the homeowners association rules. I've paid all of my dues on time. I bought specifically looking at the 8th hole. And now my house is right where a cul-de-sac's going to be. That's not fair. That's not what I paid over $100,000 for a lot for. I would ask that this project be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Thomas.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Thomas. I live in Hills Quarter at 38 Lloyds in District 4. I'm going to be very brief. I think my wife just said it all. I think the previous speakers, I agree with everything they said. I've heard Mr. Blunt's proposal, his objection to revising the Hills Quarter Master Plan, and I totally agree with it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Marilyn Thackett. Did I pronounce your name correct?
Can't hear very
Oh,
well.
okay. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Mary Lynn Tackett. I live in Hills Quarter at 29 Crossroad, and I reside in District 4. I have heard Mr. Blunt's objection to revising the Hills Quarter Master Plan, and I agree with him, and I applaud and I agree with the other speakers here too. I think you'll be making a grave error if you go ahead and approve this plan. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mrs., I think it's Millie Wiley.
My name is Millie Wiley. I own a home at Hills Quarter and have lived there for 17 years. I have read what Mr. Blunt has said about the revisions to the Hills Quarter master plan, and I just want to say that I totally agree with what he said. And I thank all of you for your time and for coming here and listening to us as homeowners, and I hope you take into consideration our feelings and our views on what is happening at where we live. And I just want everybody to know that it's not what most of us want. And please take a good look at it, and because us homeowners will be the ones who are most affected by this decision. So we thank you for taking a look, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley. The next name, I believe, is Tom Seward. Did I pronounce that right?
No.
Okay.
Too close, I forgive you.
Tell me what it is, sir.
My name's Tom Sennett.
Sennett.
Yes. I live at 784 Middlegate in Hills Quarter. Myself and my wife have lived there, have owned property, and have built property in this community. I stand in favor of everything that Jack said and all of that has been spoken by the previous speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. John Mason.
My name is John Mason, and my wife Linda and I live in Hills Quarters at 16 Mount Jean North. We are residents of District 4. We've heard Mr. Blunt's objections to the proposed revision to the master plan and everyone else's objections, and they all reflect our own concerns and objections, and about which we feel just as strongly as you heard everyone else express tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Nan Larson.
Did you get that pronunciation right?
I can't forget this because I've been knowing my husband for a long time. I've met you too. Yeah.
I'm Nan Larson. I live in District 1, but I have a lot on Mount Jean in Hills Quarter. I'm very concerned about this particular revision, and I agree with Jack Blunt and the other homeowners that are here tonight in their objection to this proposal. I request that you disapprove it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Now, I'm believing this is Joy. Sometimes it's not me, sometimes it's what you wrote. All right, I believe this is Joy Gallo.
It's the name is the problem, it's not you.
Okay, Waltney, okay.
Bacon. Thank you all very much. My name is Joy Gwaltney, and my husband and I live at 17 Cross Road in Hills Quarter. We're relatively new there, very excited to move in and very shocked at being confronted with a controversy right off the bat. I think I wanted to just underscore one thing that I think was in Mr. Blunt's comments, but I would like to go back and circle around on it, because I agree, and so does my husband, everything about Mr. Blunt's remarks. He's been very careful about it, and I think his honesty and his integrity is without parallel in his taking on this issue. But what I wanted to ask about is something he mentioned about not knowing exactly what mixed use was going to be. or what the definition of it, what it allowed it. And of course, I'd love to have that fleshed out, but you all probably already know what it is, and we probably don't need to know until later, but I don't want to be caught short again on not seeing these things coming over on the horizon. So if there is a controversy about mixed use, how can we find out before we get to the point of standing here and saying, gee, no, this is just wrong? And I want to add that, and I know Jack would be horrified that I'm doing this, but how are we getting the school buses on our little road into the school? I'm sorry, but that never made sense to me, and I'll drop it. I'll drop that. But again, thank you to Mr. Blunt. We agree with everything that he said, and we appreciate your consideration. We hope that you will deny the request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baldwin. Brandon Sruggs.
All right, my name is Brandon Scruggs. I live in Hills Quarters at 10 Flippo and reside in District 4. I've heard Mr. Blunt's objections in revising the Hills Quarter Master Plan and agree with them and want it denied. I moved in there 9 months ago, and I'm actually right on, my backyard is where the Frisbee golf course is, and I feel like finding this out after the fact, I would have made different decisions on, moving into this area. And, I paid a lot of money to be able to move there. And so, not having that information 9 months ago or whenever, is pretty frustrating. And so again, I just would like you to deny that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Tiffany Wolf. Tiffany Wolf. WOLFE. Okay. All right. David. Gariens. Garius?
I'm sorry, you've been thrown another loop. My name is David Cairns.
Cairns.
Cairins. I live at 26 Flippo, Hills Quarter, and I'm in District 4. I strongly support Jack Blunt's objections to the revision of the master plan that's being proposed. A major concern of mine has to do with the school buses. I was told that the original plan showed the buses entering and exiting on a road between Field of Dreams and the proposed school. Old St. John's, I was told by a supervisor with Statesman, is not built to handle those buses. To handle those buses, it has to be something like 11 inches thick. It is 4 inches thick. And I'm very, very concerned that we are at this point, and no one even stopped to think about getting those buses in and out and the roads that are there. And apparently, the master plan was changed, and everyone was, oh, we didn't know that. So there's so many questions dealing with this addition that need to be answered. I'm asking you not to accept it, to reject it as it now stands until these questions are resolved. My wife and I strongly urge you to reject it.
Gail Burkhart, Cali.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Gail Burkhart Cali. I'm a recent purchaser of a home in Hills Quarter. I live on Pohickory Lane. I'm in District 4. I have heard all of the comments from Jack Blunt and all the other speakers, and I strongly agree with what they have had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Clay.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
My name is Peter Clay, and my dear wife and I live at 712 Middlegate in District 4. And I've listened to Jack Blunt and agree with everything that he has passed on. So let's hope that he carries on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brad Perry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board for the opportunity to speak on this. I stand with Jack Blunt and all the other speakers you've already heard for all the reasons that they have expressed. I live in Hills Quarter, 59 Pohickory Lane, District 4, and like all these other speakers, we are very concerned with this proposed major revision to the Hills Quarter Master Plan. It's surpriseful, and it's something that's not in our best interest on any number of accounts, as you've already heard. And so I ask you to disapprove it or outright reject it. It is not sustainable to go forward in its present form. Too many unanswered questions and too many concerns for too many residents. It changes our whole community into something that we did not anticipate, something that we did not move into, and it's just not the right thing to do. So please stand with all of us as we recommend that it be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Joan Perry?
Hello, thank you. My name is Joan Perry, and I'm the wife of Brad Perry. I live on Pohickory Lane, District 4, in a beautiful community of Hills Quarter. And though I understand that there's always progress to be made, I would appreciate that the community stays as it is, as beautiful as it is for now. So I stand in agreement with what Jack Blunt said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Mahmoud and Jawhar.
Is it Mahmoud Jahar?
I feel special now.
Pronounce your name for us, sir.
Mahmoud Johar, but you guys can call me Mike to make it easier tonight. There's enough serious stuff going on. So now that everybody knows my name and how to spell it, I live in Hills Quarters at 45 Foxtail North with my wife Sonia. We've been there for 3 years now and reside in District 4. We started with our 2 sons that were over there. They've gone off to college, but they started in Hills Quarters. I've heard Mr. Blunt's objections. I've followed through as well as he's continued to keep us up to date with the information going forward about the revisions to the Hills Quarters Master Plan, and I agree with him. And I agree with the rest of the speakers for the same reasons that they've all given. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jordan Spoor?
Hello, good evening. Hi. My name is Jordan Spoor. I live at 529 Middlegate along with my wife Amy and my 3 kids. I agree with Jack Blunt and all the speakers that revising the Hills Quarters master plan is a mistake and you should reject it. The speakers have made many points, so I'll try to add new content to the record. Starting with a rhetorical question for you. Did your briefing documents that you received mention a meeting that happened a month ago where Carter Financial ostensibly build this as an opportunity for the community to have input into the plan. I attended that meeting, and I didn't see any input actually accepted by Stateston and Jimmy Carter. Kind of felt like a waste of my time. And I think the residents here would agree with me. When you imagine the future, I want you to imagine this beautiful new high school that you're building right next to this community. It's packed with young kids, and right next to that is a community that looks like this, that has essentially no kids. Do you see conflict coming from this juxtaposition? I do. I see conflict, and I think you'll see it in meetings like this, asking you to take action based on the different needs of these groups. They have different hours, they have different needs. It's easy to anticipate that this is coming. In closing, I just want to say plainly, this plan fails Hills Quarter residents in Lancaster County today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Jean Poole.
I don't have COVID. I've been shared with a cold with the kids. Jean Poole, I live in District 3, but we own a home in Hills Quarter, and I agree with Jack Blunt and everything he's had to say and all the other speakers. And I want to know, where are all the people coming that are in Ryan Homes that's on the Hospital Road and these places? It's like, I've never seen so many houses. So I'm wondering where the people are coming from and what we're going to do with all of them. And thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robert Poole.
Thank you, gentlemen, for hearing us and allowing us to speak. I'm husband of the lady who just spoke, and we do own property in Hills Quarter, occupied currently by my son-in-law who spoke before that. I have read through what Jack Blunt has distributed, and I fully concur and agree 100% with the objections that have been posted tonight, and ask that you, respectfully ask that you not approve this development. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Coons.
My name is Gary Coons. My wife and I live at 75 Pohickory Lane in Hills Quarter in District 4. I've heard Mr. Blunt's comments tonight, and I totally agree with him and urge the board to disapprove the request for the revision to Hills Quarter Master Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. The last name is Newton, N-E-W-T-O-N.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mary Newton. I live at 22 Mount Jean North in Hills Quarter, District 4. I have heard Mr. Blunt's objections to revising the Hills Quarter Master Plan, and I agree with it. I just want to say one other thing. Where these homes are going to be built, I just want you to take note that coming into Hills Quarter is Old St. John's Road. One way in and one way out. And I'd just like you to think about that with the school buses and the homes that are going to be built. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe this is Saul G. Randolph, or Rosedolph? Randolph. Randolph, okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sarah Gale Randolph, and I live in Hills Quarters at 15 Mount Jean North in District 4, and I agree with my dear neighbors and Mr. Blunt on the objection to this expansion of Hills Quarters. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stevenson? Miss or Mr. Stevenson?
Hi, this is going to be very short, I promise you. My name is Cindy Stevenson. Me and my husband live at 788 Middlegate. I just want to say that I agree with what Jack Blunt has said and all of my neighbors. Please deny this request. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. John Webster?
My name is John Webster. I live in 796 Middlegate in Hills Quarter, District 4. Lived here almost 2 months. Heard what Mr. Jack Blunt said. Couldn't agree with him more. I think it's pretty obvious at this point there's a big loss that you can't even put a value on that's being imposed on the residents of Hills Quarter at the benefit of somebody that it just does not seem to be right. And if I had known this was existing or going to come up, like I said, I've only lived here about not even 2 months. I think I would have looked somewhere else. So anyhow, I think everyone has pretty much wrapped it all up, and I agree with what everyone has said up here. Thank you.
Thank you. John King?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is John King. Everybody calls me Jack, my wife and Lori, and I have been living on Hickory Thicket in Hills Quarter for a little over 4 years. And I'm here to say I agree with the general arguments that everybody's been making against the adoption of this change in the plan. I agree. It would be wrong, in my opinion, for what it's worth, to accept this plan change as it is, especially not tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ed and Pauline?
Thank you for your time and commitment to this community. My name is Pauline. My husband is Ed Sulik. We live at 796 Old St. John Road in District 4, and I am in agreement with my friends and neighbors about the concerns about this change in the development, and I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. Paul Rice? No, Price. Paul Price?
That's me.
All right.
That's the easy name, right?
Yes.
And my name's Paul Price. I currently live in District 1. We bought property in District 4, and Mount St. Jean is a investment that we're making to move into that area as we start to age, as you can see the rest of my and not only for my family, but my in-laws, and to try to build a community within Hills Quarters. And to add this, another 137 homes in there, it's just overwhelming for all of us. I agree with Mr. Blunt and the rest of the speakers tonight. Kind of reminds me of the old Army days, hurry up and wait. So let's wait on this. If not, scuttle it all together. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Patrick Hogan.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Hogan. My wife and I live at 860 Middlegate in Hills Quarter and in District 4. We moved here 16 years ago, and it's been a beautiful community, and it just breaks my heart to see what's being proposed here. So I would strongly suggest that you deny it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Walker.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Bob Walker. I live at 780 Middlegate, and I am in complete agreement with Jack Blunt and all of the other speakers tonight, and ask that you please deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Gregory Gates.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Gates. I live at 48 Roseneath in Killarney, and I own property in Hills Quarter. I have heard Mr. Blunt's objection and my other neighbors' objections to revising the Hills Quarter master plan and agree with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe this is Ray. The last name starts with D-O-Z. Okay. All right.
My name is Ray Dozwa. I live at 950 Old St. John's Road in Irvington in Hills Quarter with my wife Kathy. I am in total agreement with Mr. Blunt and the rest of these wonderful folks that I've lived in the community with for a long time. To add a little bit more, I was part of the Hillsborough, the Board of Directors, and I was the Vice President, and I was the Chairman of the Architectural Review Committee. And I did have to deal with a lot of adversity, should I say, and I used to have hair when I started doing that. It's just, you know, and I would try to conform to our architectural standards, and it would go on and on. So I am, you know, the community has totally changed, a facelift. I retired from doing that at around the beginning of 24, and right after that, all of a sudden, this plan showed up. And it was like, okay, there's another gentleman, some other people overseeing that. But it's like, well, it really doesn't conform to what Hills Quarter has started at. My background is in architecture and engineering for almost 50 years. I have designed personally homes, and these homes here, they're a place to live in, but they really don't conform with the style and everything that's going into Hills Quarter that we always had before. So as far as just putting a house there and that one track of road there with no cul-de-sacs, nothing like that, it's just a shame. It really is, in my mind. And I think we could do a lot better. I believe we need to revisit that plan, and please do not approve that this evening or whenever you do, because it needs a lot of work, and we have to consider the residents now that are living there, myself, my wife, and all the other good folks in Hills Quarter, and you really must take a look at all this again, because it doesn't conform. I about beat my head against the wall many times trying to deal with the builder, trying to get some things that were very simple that needed to conform with our architectural standards. So again, this plan here, to me, just erase it and take it off the screen, because it needs to be redone and rethought about how it should be for the future of Hills Quarter, to make it kind of seamless is for what is up there now, what is in Hills Quarter now. So, thank you very much.
Right, thank you. This is all that have signed up, but in case you didn't sign up, is there anyone left that wants to speak? All right, anybody online? No, sir. All right. This public hearing now is closed, and I'd like to thank you all for the way you expressed yourself and handled yourself. That's a relief. I've seen groups like this yelling and hollering and all that stuff and not abiding by the rules and regs. So thank you all for the way you conducted yourself. Did I call you? Yeah, I don't see your name up here, but you don't have any objection? No, sir. All right, okay. I open the public hearing back up for Dr. Deschamps. No, see, you check it out.
Good evening. My name is John Deschamps. I'm a resident of Hills Quarters. I live at 64 Foxtail South, and I'm part of District 4. And I do agree with Mr. Blunt's statement about the development of Hills Quarters.
Okay.
That's my statement.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Okay. Double check it. Anyone else? Okay. All right. It is officially closed. All right. I think I said, yeah, thank you. All right. Gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not going to repeat anything that was said here tonight, but I do want to go back to one important fact, one element. I think it kind of breezed over everybody's head. It was stated real early, and that's how we handle the sewer and water coming out of Hills Quarter. About 10 days ago, Don and myself received a report on the capacity of the current pump stations. And the way it's designed right now, the way it's designed today, it will not handle what is being proposed. It may be some alternative routes that you can do or something like that. That would have to be explored. But right now, as it is designed today, and I'm talking about with the new pump station that's going in for the school, plus the one that's at Middlegate, it will not handle what is being proposed. So I think we need to consider that. The county needs to consider the fact that we may or may not be responsible for upgrading the pump station to handle it. We may or may not be. Our attorney is looking into that. He's going to brief us on that, his opinion on that. So I'm going to put forth a motion that we table this for 30 days, that we can get some answers to that. And in that time, I would hope that the HOA and Mr. Carter can get together and they can come to some other solutions, some middle ground somewhere. But I'm making that motion that we table it for 30 days.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay. So, I think it was Barbara Tynes that spoke about living here for a long time, and I'm with you, Barbara. I've lived here for 56 years, and I'm only 53 years old. My wife and I fight over this all the time. I want this county to grow. She doesn't want it to grow. And so when we approved Taylor's Creek, Taylor's Creek Park, she didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. And then when we approved the Carter's Cove Park, it was another 2 weeks. And when we approved this, she's probably not going to speak to me for a long time. So here's the bottom line, and I'm being transparent with you, is that we're going to approve something, and it's because this board wants this county to grow. This is a dying community. The average age is I see you shaking your head in the back, but it is. We get the numbers, and I am a realist that I am going to die. One day I'm going to take my last breath, and I'm starting to age out. This board wants young people to come in here. We want this to be vibrant and exciting, and that's why we're building the parks, and we're doing all the things we're doing. That's why we hired John, so that he can go out and find businesses that are willing to come to this area so we can retain young people. That's what we want as a board. And with that being said, we need housing. We don't have any housing here. There is a tremendous shortage. That's why you're paying 3 or 4 times more than you should be paying for a house. It's because it's supply and demand. We have a shortage. And we are going to be the bad guy. It was my recommendation tonight to approve the 137 lots, with 26 of those being put under a study until we can figure out what the sewer looks like. But it sounds like that's not going to happen. But I feel bad for you, I really do. I walk out of my home in the morning, and I have a neighbor behind me, I have a neighbor to the side of me, I have a neighbor to the other side, and I have a neighbor in front of me. And I love all four of them. Are there times I wish I didn't have them there? Absolutely. But I love them to death. So I feel for you. That's it.
So I'm assuming your vote is no?
My vote is no.
No. All right, so we have 4 yeas and one no. So, hold on. 4 yeas, 1 no, so the motion passed, all right? I usually don't allow this, but I will. Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate that you took action, and what action you did take. I'm concerned about 30 days being enough days to solve what problems we have with the growth of the community that you want and I want. Because there's big, big issues here to do what we want to do to make this community a real live community. I came from New Jersey. I was at Jersey Shore. This community to me was what it was when I was a boy. It was a local community of people. You knew everybody. You knew everybody's story. And we grew together. Well, we had our bumps too, and the big bumps are coming, and you can't stop them. We had to come up with a universal sewer solution. You're going to have it. You've got more water than we have. And you have wells that are now down 700 feet to get good water. When I came here 10 years ago, we were 300 feet. I was working for Habitat, they were building houses for Habitat. We're now down to 700 feet for good water. I don't know what you're going to do in 30 days to solve the problem that you have. Forget Hill's Quarters. We're fighting over what they did to us to change the look of the subdivision, which is beautiful. We'd like to sit down and work with Jimmy Carter and solve the problem, but I don't think you're going to do it in 30 days, so please keep us posted where we're going with this thing.
Well, one of the things I might want to add, the gentleman is correct, but we are addressing those plans, those problems in the 2035. That's what we're doing with that. Yeah, so right now we're talking about Hill's Quarters, and we got some things that we can focus on in 30 days, and we can get some answers to what we need to make the proper solution, you know.
Right. That's something we've been working on for 2, 3 years.
But he's right, it's 2035, we're addressing a lot of those problems if you reach 2035. We got Mr. Bateman over there, he's a lead bigger on this, so, on that charge.
All right. Okay.
I hope you guys...
Can I say one other thing?
Yes.
Because this has come up a couple times, and maybe Mr. Gill can address this. This is the school bus and the road.
Mm-hmm.
We've done study on Old St. John Road. We've got the engineering studies back. Old St. John Road can house school buses.
Mm-hmm. And we've asked VDOT to develop a punch list with the intention of having Old St. John's Road from Irvington Road all the way back for the length of the property that the county owns to that sharp right turn to where Old St. John's heads towards your clubhouse, to have that section of Old St. John's taken into the state system. So all of those things, as Mr. Lee has said, are being done, so they will be addressed. And VDOT has the final say on intersections with state roads. So the proposed road that was shown on this plan that intersects with Middlegate, Middlegate's already a state road. VDOT would have the final say on what that looks like. And VDOT will have the final say on any turning lanes off of Irvington Road onto Old St. John's Road. They've already indicated that the turning lanes need to be extended. So VDOT will have the final say in that.
Okay. Okay, we moving on. All right, let's go on, Mrs. Olivia Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next public hearing this evening is an application to modify conditions placed on a previously approved special exception.
You might want to hold up, let people Y'all don't have to leave, you can stay.
Probably so.
And I'm gonna do that. And you probably already are. Ask how much, you say yes.
I do have a question. I'm Janet Gordon, but we're talking about the roads.
There might be one.
Right now,
Well, and maybe we'll look at that. I mean,
Not that it's their job.
they have a bill per day, break down different types of uses.
It's always a tough, it's always a tough.
I'm sure they.
Get this thing back. All right, the meeting's coming back to order, coming back to order. All right. Yep. Okay, Ms. Hall.
Do you want me to wait for Bill Lee?
Oh, that's what you were telling me. I thought you were telling me. Okay, we'll wait then. We'll wait.
How do I get this to show up? I'll plug it in.
That sort of thing, it's beyond what capacity is. So I don't think people don't need that. I understand. But we do it every meeting. We do it every meeting. I mean, that's why we got zoning and all of this. You know, not all of it. So they're real. You got to do something.
Oh, that's what he did, all right.
Yeah, you got to reach some compromise. I wondered if he signed the different.
He signed the solar one.
Charlie, oh, that's Charlie Costello. Yeah.
Is Rachel
Yeah, I see
online?
it now.
Wow, the crowd has changed.
Thank you.
Jackie is here tonight.
Okay, Ms. Hall.
She was covered up. She was buried in the crowd.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you this evening the third public hearing, which is an application to modify conditions placed on a previously approved special exception by Danetta Wiggins, Desiree Jones, DeWanda Wiggins, and Denise Wiggins, owners, care of Community Power Group, who's the agent, requesting a reduced wetland setback for the approved 3-megawatt solar site, Four Sisters Solar 1, located on tax map 1619 at 513 Mary Point Road in District 2. Staff have no recommendation, but do note Article 28 allows the Board of Supervisors to grant greater or reduced setbacks as a condition of a special exception approval. The reduced wetland setback will still conform to the Chesapeake Bay Act. Additionally, the applicant is abandoning the approved 5-megawatt project with this request. A special exception was previously approved by the Board of Supervisors for the Four Sisters Solar 1 3-megawatt and Four Sisters Solar 2 5-megawatt solar facilities. The original combined total project area was approximately 50 acres of the existing 90.43 acre property. After completing a wetland delineation for the anticipated project area, it became apparent that the property is encumbered with wetlands. Article 28-5, the utility scale solar of Lancaster County zoning states the following: minimum setback shall be required unless a greater or reduced setback is approved as a condition of the special exception authorized by the Board of Supervisors. The fenced area of solar arrays shall be a minimum of 250 feet measured in the horizontal plane from the edge of tidal and non-tidal wetlands and streams as defined in the 1987 Corps of Engineers Wetland Delineation Manual and the appropriate regional supplement. Based on this code section, the county requires a 250-foot buffer from the edge of tidal and non-tidal wetlands and streams. Given these setbacks and the wetlands delineated on the property, only a very small irregular shaped project could be developed, making the project financially unfeasible. The applicant is requesting a reduced setback of 50 feet to non-tidal isolated wetlands and 100 feet to non-isolated wetlands, which are wetlands contiguous to a perennial stream, which complies with the Chesapeake Bay Act and the county's Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance. If granted, this exception will still result in the termination of the larger 5-megawatt project, but would still allow for the 3-megawatt project to move forward. The applicant is also requesting approval for the road and utility poles to be located within the property side setback and within the 50 feet of the isolated non-tidal wetlands. The applicant has stated in their application that the overhead utility cables must be placed adjacent to the road for required access, and that placing the road and the accompanying cables along the northern property boundary allows for the minimization of disturbances and the avoidance of wetlands and buffer areas, while still allowing for the farm field to remain operational. This issue has been advertised to adjoining property owners, and adjoining property owners notified as required by law. To date, we've received one public comment, which was shared with you this evening. We have online Miss Rachel Boots, and she has a presentation she would like to show you.
Okay. Ms. Boots, you up.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So good evening. My name is Rachel Boots. I am a senior development engineer at Community Power Group, and we're here tonight as Ms. Hall went over to request a variance to the wetland setbacks. It was about a year ago that the special exception permits were issued for this very well-cited solar project in the county, and we appreciate your votes of approval. Over the last year, besides welcoming my first child and being out on maternity leave, I have been working diligently on this project, and I wanted to go over the development steps I've gone through to get to this point, and then go over what we're asking for. So Ms. Hall, if you could go to the next slide, please. Yes, I firstly wanted to point out, when we're doing due diligence with landowners to establish and site solar projects, we do desktop reviews, and we did a desktop review of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife wetland inventory, and there were no wetlands on this parcel. We also looked at local databases, such as the map that's shown on the right hand, which was prepared by the Friends of the Rappahannock, again, not identifying any wetlands on the site. So with these checks, even before the county code was updated with your setbacks being required, we knew the Chesapeake Bay Ordinance requirements, and after reviewing these databases, we felt pretty comfortable we could develop a solar site here. So the next slide will show, however, that earlier this summer, we did an infield wetland delineation, and it's the area that we're looking at was timbered several years ago. It's had some rapid regrowth, and I think that's pretty common when sites are timbered. There's kind of chaotic regrowth, and the summer was pretty wet. So ultimately, we probably timed this delineation poorly, but we did find several wetlands on the site. The green wetlands are forested wetlands, so like the green hatch that you're seeing on the screen. The light blue is emergent wetlands, and then what's overlaid in here is the old solar facility layout. So the white panels are all the ones that get taken out because of the setback, and then the black panels are what remains of our original design. So when this happened, I reached out to Ms. Hall to try and understand if the code did apply to both emergent and established wetlands, tidal and non-tidal, and she confirmed that the code was set for any sort of wetlands, and that the board could revise it as a condition.
Can I ask a question?
And so, yep.
Can you, Rachel Jason Bellows, Olivia or Rachel, can you answer a question about, can you describe what those different acronyms for wetland types actually mean in reality? Because we're not experts in wetland delineation, so what those different kinds of wetlands mean, because some wetlands most people consider wetlands like lily pads and seagrass and stuff like that, but wetlands can just be forest soil sometimes just because of the soil type, correct?
So you have to have all
That's-
three factors. You have to have hydric, wetland, vegetation, and the presence of water. So like that polystrene forested wetland is non-contiguous to a perennial stream. So it's just a pocket of isolated wetland. There's a small section of perennial stream near the right-hand bottom of that.
Perennial stream means it's there all the time.
That's correct. So with flowing water.
And plaustrine emergent wetlands is what?
That's an isolated forest wetland that's
So it's
not
just
connected to a
Like a
stream.
pond area or lowland in the
Correct.
forest? Okay.
Water don't stay there all the time.
Well, it has to be, have hydric soils and be wet to be considered a wetland. So yes, but it's not flowing, but it is wet.
And then plaustrine forested wetland is similar to that? What is the difference between the forested wetland and the emergent wetland with the same name?
Those would be the same.
Okay. What's the distinction between the two here on this graphic?
Rachel, do you want to answer the difference between the emergent in blue and the green on the right-hand side for forested wetland?
Yeah, so there are separate classifications in the U.S. Army Corps Engineers Manual to describe and classify wetlands. There's the forested wetlands, that's what we show in green. That's more established vegetation versus the emergent wetlands are, lightly vegetated, and the soils, I believe, is what, like you said, Ms. Hall, is identified as the wetland and light vegetation.
The perennial streams listed here are part of the watershed that would flow into the Cortoman?
It goes to Browns Creek. I'm not sure what else after that.
Yeah, that would flow into the eastern branch of the Currituck.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have for now.
So Olivia, those wetlands, you're not talking standing water all the time. It could just be wet soils. Or would it be standing water in there?
There would be standing water.
Pretty much the whole time, or?
Well, ideally, you would look at that multiple times a year to determine that.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how, they had a professional delineation done by a third party, and I'm not sure how many times they looked at
But
it.
they were able to log those areas though, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not it's not standing water. We have the logs, our wetland delineation logs included in the submission file. And, I do appreciate these questions, and maybe we can answer them with our consultant. They have pictures as well of each area in the file, because it's not standing water. It's the soil characteristics, the plant species, and it's not upland. So if after rain, it might be muddy or mushy. My non-technical explanation of the difference. But in the pictures, there's not standing water of the areas that they're calling wetlands on this map.
Okay.
But there would be hydric soils, so if you were to dig down within 12 to 14 inches, you would find wet soils. And that's what would determine it as being wet.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Boots, you
Yeah,
have any?
so I just want to make sure I answered the question. So on our graphic, the light blue is the emergent wetlands, and the green is the forested, established wetlands. And then, like Ms. Hall pointed out, there's two wetlands that are adjacent to the stream, which that's where the Chesapeake Bay Ordinance 100-foot RPA comes into play. And so, like she mentioned in her introduction, we would still be following that, because if you go to our next slide is actually where I wanted to go over what we tried to rework and what we're proposing.
Next slide.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, and so what we have here is we showed the 100-foot buffer in green, and then the 250-foot buffer from the county. So 100-foot buffer in green is what we're asking for, and then yellow is the 250-foot. And we were looking through the code and identified that the wetland overlay district in the code does allow 50 feet setback to non-tidal isolated wetlands, so not being connected to streams, and then 100-foot setback to tidal connected wetlands, which is in line with the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance. We feel these distances are ample protective measures, which can be seen from your code, which restricts other development types to these setbacks. But with this reduced setback for the solar facility, we would be able to make this project work at 3 megawatts, as Ms. Hall mentioned earlier. Just the way the wetlands are kind of creeping into the site, it does make it very hard to fit the originally approved 5 megawatt as well. And one other thing that was talked about in the introduction was the road. So just showing how the road comes along the northern side. And I want to point out the yellow, if hopefully you can see it, the yellow setback there, it prohibits anything from getting back into that site unless we can reduce the setbacks to the green setbacks. So we've wiggled our road around the wetlands to try and make sure we can get back to the site. But if the 250-foot setback was followed, it prohibits any sort of access to the backfield. And those are isolated wetlands. They're not connected to a stream. The intent, and remembering back to a year ago when this was approved, was this was a out of sight, out of mind operating facility. There's no neighbors. It's completely surrounded by forested lots at the moment. The front agricultural field is intended to remain in operation, and we would be following the Chesapeake Bay Ordinance and state level requirements that the county goes above and beyond in their solar code. Just to point out, we're working on some projects in Maryland that actually go over wetlands. As long as you keep your disturbance under a minimum, a certain threshold, we're able to build on top of wetlands in Maryland, which is also in the Chesapeake Bay. So here we're even, being a little bit more restrictive and just asking for that 50-foot offset to the isolated wetlands and then the 100-foot offset to the connected, non-isolated wetlands.
It looks like
And so,
from the diagram.
oh, go ahead.
Looks like from the diagram, the majority of the panels would go on existing cleared land or farmland.
Yes, that is where there was no wetlands.
And the remainder of
So
this.
if you go back, sorry.
Oh, and the remainder of this site, as you mentioned, was timber cut over and regrowth.
Yes. So yeah, this slide shows the fence in the black line was the originally approved estimated footprint with the 2 facilities, the panels shown in black and white, the white ones being impacted by the new setback, or the delineated wetland setbacks.
But the farm field adjacent to Mary Point Road will remain, as farmland, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because that, there is like there is a 500-foot setback in your code from the road frontage, and we're exceeding that and keeping about 1,000 feet back. Because instead of that skinny, the site is very oddly shaped, but I think it does put itself in a position to be a good opportunity for solar because it's pushed back from the road and hidden. But then unfortunately we discovered there were some unknown wetland areas along the boundaries of the site that definitely restricted our original plan for the site.
Okay. Hey, Rachel.
Yes.
What, and this is a crazy question, but it just occurred to me. Why is the angle, it looks like the angle of the panels in the first proposal are significantly different from the angle of the panels in the second one. Is that true, or is that just something in the drawing?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. So the first plan, usually you want to have them perfectly north-south because there's single axis tracking.
Yep.
And so you're going to get the most efficient production rate by tracking the sun directly as it goes from east to west, and your panels are aligned north-south to track that. What we have found, and we're studying the production model of this, is we can still fit the size we need at an angle and we may take a small hit on production like in the winter months since we're angled. But that's something we're still working out, and this was just the configuration that allowed us to still fit a 3 megawatt, which is what we've applied for with Dominion for interconnection. So we had the 5 megawatt and the 3 megawatt applied for in the queue. And so we had to drop the 5 megawatt because we knew there was no way we could fit, and we're really trying to make the 3 megawatt fit because we have paid for that interconnection.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any additional questions?
I have one question, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. Rachel, this is Don Gill. In the letter that you sent with the application, you asked for the 50-foot setback from non-tidal isolated wetlands, and you also made that statement in the letter for the road and utility poles that they be allowed in that 50-foot setback from non-tidal isolated wetlands. But when I look at the new drawing, I don't see where the proposed layout encroaches any closer than the 100-foot RPA. Is there anywhere, am I missing something there? Because I don't see where anything is encroaching up to the 50-foot setback from non-tidal isolated wetlands.
Yeah, thank you. I think that may have been a misstep in my letter. Our intent is to stay out of the wetland buffers that we're asking for roads, for poles, for fences, everything. And so the ask is if the wetland buffer for all features of the solar facility and access to it could follow the buffers and setbacks required from your ordinance 18.3.2 and the Chesapeake Bay ordinance.
So basically, if you built anything else here would be approved under the current ordinance?
Right, that was our, reasoning for looking into the code to see what other types of restrictions other developments might have.
Is the simple ask, is they're basically asking to have this solar facility have the same sort of zoning wetland setbacks as any other building structure that would be approved on this site?
It sounds like
Yes,
that's correct
that's
to
the
me,
intent.
but the perennial stream would add the waterfront overlay district if this were to be a residential site, but that only applies to a residential site, so it doesn't apply here.
And what would that mean then, if the waterfront overlay district was applied
That would be 800 feet
from the water?
from the perennial feature or its contiguous tidal wetlands.
And how far are they here?
It would affect it here. I'm not sure how many.
Yeah,
how
but
far
it
back,
doesn't,
but
the
it-
W1 doesn't apply here because this is not residential.
Correct,
So that's a mute point.
Yeah.
correct.
And the only reason I asked that question, Rachel, is because I drafted some modified conditions if the board chose to go that route. And I added that 50 feet to isolated non-tidal wetlands in those proposed conditions. But if none are being shown on this new drawing, I'm wondering if we even need that statement in the new proposed conditions. I think what I'm hearing is you would like it there because it exists elsewhere in our zoning ordinance, specifically in Article 18.
Well, I think if you don't mind going to the next slide, I took a stab at drafting some motions if that was the way the board wanted to go, was the first to address granting reduced setback to wetlands for the solar project to 50 feet for isolated and 100 feet for connected. And then the second one was grant approval for the access road to be within 100 foot of the property setback. So maybe that was where there was some miscommunication, because this would be a clarification from your previous approval where the road was drawn very similarly along the northern property line. the code says driveways for access may enter closer than the setback if approved and should move away from the setback as soon as feasible with respect to property line setbacks. And so this motion would clarify that you did in fact approve the driveway access as shown previously, and just, have that in writing and clarity that the road could be within the 100-foot property line setback. But the main ask here is those isolated wetland setback and 100-foot connected wetland setback.
Yeah, and I guess my question to you would be, in number one, do we really need the 50 feet for isolated wetlands, since I didn't see any on the new drawing?
Yes, I think that would allow us some more flexibility to angle the panels.
Okay.
As I was mentioning earlier about the production modeling. So the two wetlands kind of near the panhandle, those are isolated. And so what we've modeled was, what you're seeing here is all the panels are more than 100 feet away, but there could be some flexibility for the isolated wetlands if that was something the board was willing to consider.
Okay.
Whereas the ones on the eastern side are connected.
Okay.
So that would be 100 feet as required by the Chesapeake Bay ordinance.
I'm glad you stated that clears that up some. In your letter, you had requested that the road, access road and utility poles also have that within 50 feet of isolated non-tidal wetland language, but I see in your proposed motion language, you don't have that in number 2, addressing the access road. So that's not needed in number 2.
So, no. All right.
I guess that the road, the road could be outside the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah, but in your letter you sent, you also had the 50 feet for isolated wetland language in number 2 as well. And so what I'm saying is obviously now that doesn't need to be in the motion language.
Yeah, I guess if number 1 grants reduced setbacks for the solar project. Well, I guess I'm a little confused. Sorry, go back one page. You will see that the road does go through the 250-foot setback from wetlands. Like the yellow line is the 250-foot setbacks. So the road does need to get closer just to squeeze through between the two wetlands and the drawn 100-foot setback, but those are isolated, and so that's where we were looking for flexibility if possible, similar to the other code section where those would be a 50-foot setback.
Okay. So it offers you some flexibility if you have to reposition the solar arrays, the angle of them. And
yes.
I get it, okay. I only added one other potential condition, and that was that it would be a reduced project size, that with this modified special exception conditions, the Four Sisters Solar 2, the 5 megawatt, would be abandoned. Is that correct?
Yes, the 5 megawatt project is not feasible.
Thank you. I feel like I'm splitting hairs, but I just want to make sure the language is right if the board.
No, I appreciate that. Our attorneys always get back to me about how stuff is written or not included in motion, so I appreciate your thorough preparation for this.
Well, it sounds like the 3 watt is not going to work without the special exception either. Is that right?
Right, the 3 megawatt facility can't fit with the current 250-foot setbacks that the county code requires for solar only.
Okay. All right. Any additional statements, questions?
Mr. Palin, you know what I'm going to say is that we, as a board, we voted, we put these stipulations in place to control so many solar farms coming in. And every time we change one, we're compromising, and we're opening a can of worms for us to get back to where we used to be.
So at this particular time, then, I'm going to open the floor for comments. The floor is now open. Mr. Costello.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith, to say what you did. Charlie Costello, too. I'd like to go back to the picture for the new proposal and the road. Currently, the road going in there, if I'm not mistaken, across the way from this field is Willie Chapel Baptist Church, correct?
Correct.
And the road currently is at the bottom of it. It seemed to me in the old one that they had the first time, the power lines were coming along that bottom portion right down the thing. Now, it looks like it's aimed right at Craig Geese's farm across the way, just past the parking lot and up in that area. And there is field, if I remember it correctly, Craig, that's all farmed right across to almost that road going in the back. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's where we thought, or I thought, is where it's proposed. And I don't know why it has to be shifted otherwise, because that is going to put it out there like a sore thumb with that cornfield or soybeans or whatever it is going out there. And also, I think, you're going to have Dominion Energy come along with Mary Point, you're going to have erosions, you get setbacks and all this, the way it is, and here you're going to have a precedent. Let's go into the wetlands. Let's take care of the setbacks. We can change them. We'll just do whatever. You know, why do we have it? It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
Hey, Charlie.
Thank you.
Yo.
Looking where the road, where they're showing the road going in, the road on the other side, I think, actually used more open land because it ran the full width down there, where it's a smaller run, and the rest of it runs through what is old cut-over timberland now. So I think
As
it's...
I drive down, like, opposite the field.
What's that?
I look at driving in and out, it's all things, there's a very small road going back in there.
Yeah, well, the road is sort of, because it doesn't get used much now, it's grown up, yeah.
I agree.
All right, anyone else? Anybody online? All right,
Yeah, am I able to respond to Mr.
okay,
Costello's
let me
comments
close
as
the
well?
public session. All right, public session.
Okay.
Now closed, all right. Ms. Booth, go ahead.
Sure, yeah, thank you, Supervisor Cusey, for mentioning that. That was the intent, and the original drawings did also put that road on the north side to keep that farmland most unobstructed as possible. And also, there's a couple number of poles that would be right along our driveway, and we wanted to keep that out of the direct across from the church. We, as being a good neighbor, we thought it would be better suited for the northern side. So that's why the road is located as it is. And again, we are following the state Chesapeake Bay state regulations, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regulations, the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance, and we understand that the setbacks the county proposed when they updated their code did have an intent to restrict solar development. And I do believe from the meeting minutes, this project was commented on as well cited, and now we found this site setback, and we're hoping we can work within the bounds of the already established requirements from the state and federal level to come to terms with the county as well.
All right, okay.
If I remember correctly, because we had a big discussion, I think, Don, you might remember, at the planning commission meeting, when we was meeting on the setbacks and all that. And I think, we we set it at 250, but we always said that, it could be reduced or it could be raised, either way, but we couldn't go below what the Chesapeake Bay Act, had already set. So we had that in mind when the Planning Commission had that in mind, when they passed it on to the Board of Supervisors, that it could be changed.
Well, we should just adopt what the Chesapeake Bay Act requires then, because every time we change it, we're basically just going to the minimum restrictions anyway. So as a board, maybe we should just go back to what that is.
We look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Well,
So
I
sometimes
know when Mr. Harris was here and he was proposing his at Harris Road, and all I heard is it's over in the corner, no one's going to ever see it. They pop out like a sore thumb. You can't miss them. But I'm just one vote. You guys are going to vote in favor of it, so.
All right. Any other comments?
I'd just say it's a reduced impact on the land. It is still what I'd call a pretty good siting for overall, if you look at it in totality of the project and where we're approving solar, I still think there's probably no better spot in the county where then you could build it, because it is sort of isolated. It's surrounded by woodland cutovers, which are a very good buffer from not only visual blight, but also like runoff blight. Nothing's going to run through one of those cutover forest regrowth thickets that grow around here.
Right.
So I'm overall in favor of this change.
All right.
Due to the totality of the issues here.
All right. Mr. Gill, you had some discussions about our proposed motion. All right. Does it still stand? I want to make it clear. We still stand the way we have it?
Yes, sir. I think the proposed language that you have in front of you is good.
All right, good. All right. So, gentlemen, I move that we modify the special exception conditions in the following way. Reduce project size. The project will only consist of 4 sister solar, 1 mega with the 3 megawatts, as 4 sister solar, 2 megawatts is abandoned. And number 8, a reduced wetland setback. The wetland setback shall be 100 feet to non-isolated wetlands and 50 feet to isolated non-tidal wetlands. And number 9, reallocation of the access road and utility poles. The access road and utility poles may be located within the property side setback and within 50 feet of the isolated non-tidal wetlands. Now, when I say 7, 8, and 9, what I'm proposing to do with this motion, the modified special exceptions that I read as 7, 8, and 9 is to be added to the adopted special exception conditions that was passed on September 28, 2023. You've heard the motion. Any questions? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, nay?
Nay.
All right, you have 4 to 1, motion passed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Boots. All right, now let's move on. Ms. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you public hearing number 4, an application for special acceptance by Christy and Aaron Proctor of 2297 Old Church Road, Mechanicsville, Virginia, to operate an unhosted short-term rental as required by Article 29 of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance. This property is zoned R1 Residential General and is located at 181 Rose Drive, tax map number 27-51A in District 5. Staff recommends any approval contingent upon the applicant's ability to obtain a certificate of occupancy, and they did obtain that this week, and continued compliance with the requirements of Article 29 for unhosted short-term rentals. Article 29 of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance requires a special exception for the operation of an unhosted short-term rental in R1. Christy and Aaron Proctor seek to obtain approval of their special exception application to operate an unhosted short-term rental located at 181 Rose Drive. The VDH operations permit provides approval for a 3-bedroom home. Based on this in our ordinance, the applicants may provide accommodations for 6 adults and their minor children. The applicant has provided a parking plan showing ample parking, which is included in the packet. Also included is proof of commercial general liability insurance for over the required amount of $500,000. The applicant has applied for a certificate of occupancy and received it. This short-term rental is registered to operate with the county and current on payment of transient occupancy taxes. This issue has been advertised and adjoining property owners notified as required by law. To date, there have been no complaints on file regarding this short-term rental. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a quick question for Olivia.
Yes, sir.
On these special exceptions, are these like normal special exceptions? These will go with the property or the owner?
They'll go with property.
The property.
They'll be, in fact, I recommend that they be recorded in the clerk's office.
The other question, did you say that the occupancy permit has been received?
Yes, sir, it has.
Any other questions before we move to the
So
floor?
all of these new requests will be coming before the board?
Yes, sir. Any, for unhosted only.
Unhosted? Yeah, okay.
All right. At this particular time, the floor is now open for comments. Do I have any comments? Yes, sir.
I have one. The second one, and this is.
Mr. Costello, come right on.
People in virtual world can't hear you unless you get to the microphone.
Also, Charlie, there is a second public hearing, so we're just talking about the Proctor short-term rental.
I know, but I'm talking about, the ordinance ought to be changed to have a local property management firm available, and it be noted, and the telephone number and all the rest of it, to be in there. That will get it within the county, so if something happens, you can get to it. This, you know, Mechanicsville in one case, Charlottesville in another case. You can call them, and a call to me is not sufficient response, because a call, you could call anywhere in the world with a telephone, the way they are today, doesn't cover this. It ought to be specific and have a local property management firm included with it. And this second one does have that. So that's my comment.
Thank you, sir. All right, I saw another hand. Yes.
Hello, good evening. I'm Christy Proctor, and just want to say thank you, Mr. Chair and the board, for this opportunity to be here. This is my husband, Aaron.
Before you do this, let me handle, see if anybody else online want to make any comments.
Perfect.
Then I have you at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, thanks. All right. Yes, sir. Come. Comments? Yes, sir. Come right on up to the podium.
Anybody online? Land advisors, nobody's online.
Nobody's online. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Richard Rose III. I live at 112 Rose Drive for 58 years. I regret that I'm here to oppose y'all going along with this bed and breakfast deal. Unfortunately, I reckon about 9 months ago, I'm not good on dates. They had a family member, a friend, or a renter that stayed down their house approximately 3 months that just continuously sped past my house. Well, my road is 1/10 of a mile long, and even though it does not have a speed limit sign, any residential area is 25 miles an hour. At the end of the property where I live, the rest of it is private property. So even if it's 25 miles an hour on the state highway, you should be slowing down when you get to the end of the road. There's families down there that does have children, and for 10 years or more, Kathy Bryant and I have been working on a cat colony down Rose Drive. We spent thousands of dollars to have cats spayed, neutered, taken care of, and people speeding past my house like that is unacceptable. And I don't know what's going to be done about the situation. I called the county. My road does not have enough traffic to justify a stop sign. If you call the police has to come down there and catch them all on radar. And during the time that this young lady was speeding past my house, I tried to call Mr. Proctor 3 times. And when he moved in, told me if I had any problems to call him. He ignored all 3 of my calls, all 3 of my messages, because I wanted him to talk to this lady to ask her to slow down. Well, for my troubles, I get the law showing up at my house because I asked this lady, I stood in the middle of my yard, and I waved my hand to her to stop. And I asked her, would she please slow down? She said, I'm already going 20 miles an hour. What is the problem? I said, you're not going to go along with my request, so just go on. A few days later, the police shows up at my house telling me that I stopped this young lady in the middle of the road and would not allow her to go on her way, which is a complete falsehood. And personally, I'm tired of falling through the cracks. I don't know what the answer is, but I needed to come to tell my side of the story and what I felt. And I just don't think it's right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, nobody online, okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Public hearing is now closed. Yes, ma'am. Union.
Hello again. I think my husband's also going to speak in just a moment, but just again, wanted to thank you guys for putting together our application. We only utilize the short-term rental capacity for a few months out of the year. In fact, I think what Mr. Rose was referencing, we actually had a traveling nurse from Southwest Virginia who came up here to work at the local hospital at Rappahannock General. And so we do that also throughout the year for long-term situations. But in fact, next month we'll have another couple moving in who their daughter lives here and they want to find a place to live near her. So with that being said, we've had 0 complaints from our folks who stay with us. They've all been 5-star reviews. To his point, we actually do have a local property management company that's been assisting us here in town. So just wanted to say thank you guys, and if you have any questions, and I think Aaron, you have.
Hey, I'm Aaron Proctor, Christy's husband. Wanted to address the comment Mr. Rose made. First of all, that case is documented with the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's deputy approached Mr. Rose about stopping our tenant in the road. She felt intimidated. In the words of the Sheriff's deputy, he said, quote, "It is impossible to be going past 25 miles an hour at the end of that road because you have to make a hard right-hand 90-degree turn to get into our driveway." So the sheriff's deputy basically found his speeding claims unfounded and basically told him to leave our tenant alone and, quote, "leave that young lady alone." So you can look that up yourselves. I'm sure there's a case file on that, or at least through dispatch. The reason why Mr. Rose's calls went unanswered by me is because last fall I had to unfortunately tell Mr. Rose, and I have the voicemail recorded if anybody would like to hear it, because I knew I would have to save it for a day.
I'm going to be, can I just say that this isn't Judge Judy? I don't need to hear between two neighbors. We're here because you're making a presentation to us. I don't need to hear about neighbors or what's going on down there.
Yes, sir.
As a board, we're letting a lot of people that don't live in this area run these unhosted homes. And our biggest concern is how available you're going to be. And so I'm hearing that you're not available, and that's what I would like you to speak about.
Can I have 30 more seconds?
But I don't know, you don't have to tell us about what's going on with your neighbor. I'm not sure why that's important to us tonight.
I had to tell Mr. Rose last fall that I didn't want him contacting me anymore because he was continually trying to...
But I think you need to call Mr. Rose and talk to him. This isn't our job tonight. We're here to talk about your unhosted rental.
Well, I beg the difference on this, because Mr. Rose has said that you didn't answer his calls. And I have a problem with that if you didn't answer his calls. Now, if you're going to tell us why you didn't answer the call, I want to hear it. I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, I want to hear why he didn't answer Mr. Rose's call.
Well, if that's where he was going with it,
I think that's where you're going.
It doesn't sound like that's where he was going.
That's where he was going.
Okay.
Because I heard one side, and then I heard another side, so, yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. So there's a history of that property of Mr. Rose and his previous girlfriend who lived there also trespassing on that property. That's also on file at the Sheriff's Department. And Mr. Rose was repeatedly trying to call us before we ever had tenants there, continually trying to gain access to our property for a variety of reasons. To look for a necklace. His girlfriend came on the beach at our place and swam, walking across our yard, dropped the necklace. So he continually was trying to access our property when we weren't there. I was nice about it at first, but then I got to a point last fall where I kind of said, I'm not comfortable with you continually trying to gain access to our property. And he said, well, what about if there's an emergency? I said, sir, if there's an emergency on our property, you need to call the Sheriff's Department if it's an emergency. That was before we had tenants. So I cut off communication with Mr. Rose because he was really being intrusive in our lives, trying to access our property before we actually started renting our property. And there's a trespass charge when the Browns owned the property before we did. where he was charged with trespass. That's also found in the state judiciary website if you'd like to see that too. So there's a history there. There's also more history going back 10 years of a break-in.
All right, okay, that's good. I understand it because Mr. Rose made a charge against this one, the applicants. And based upon what he says, we could deny that. So we need to hear the other side so we can make a informed decision whether to deny or grant it. So I think they've done that, and I think you've done enough, sir. I think that's good enough.
Thank you, sir. Thank
We
you.
understand.
Thank you for the time.
All right, okay. Anything else?
And I would just note that that situation that Mr. Rose referenced was not with the short-term rental. That was with the traveling nurse who was there for several months assisting at the hospital.
Yeah, we're talking about short-term, right?
Yes, yes, sir. So I just wanted to note that.
All right, good. All right. Gentlemen, all right. District 5? District 5?
Yeah.
Entertain a motion.
I don't know. Did that sound weird to me? I mean, is that how some meetings have gone in the past?
Sometimes.
They do? Okay. Wow. Okay, I'd like to make the motion that we approve, what am I approving here? Approved to be contingent, approve this unhosted short-term rental to be contingent on the ability of the owners to obtain a certificate of occupancy, which they have, and continue compliance with the requirements in Article 29 for the unhosted short-term rentals. And if that is so, I make the motion to approve.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous vote. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public hearing number 5 is a application for a special exception by Catherine C. McNamee and Brian M. Savage of 766 Belvedere Boulevard, Charlottesville, Virginia, to operate an unhosted short-term rental as required by Article 29. This property is zoned R1 Residential General. It's located at 1671 Avis Trail, tax map number 15-120F in District 2. Staff recommends any approval be contingent upon the applicant's ability to get a certificate of occupancy and continue compliance with the requirements of Article 29. They did get their certificate of occupancy this week. Article 29 of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance requires a special exception, as we already discussed with the previous. The owners seek a special exception to obtain approval of their unhosted short-term rental located at 1671 Avis Trail. The VDH operations permit provides approval for a 4-bedroom home. Based on this in our ordinance, the applicants may provide accommodations for 8 adults and their minor children. The applicant has provided a parking plan showing ample parking, which is included in the application packet. Also included is proof of commercial general liability insurance for over the required amount of $500,000. The applicant has obtained their certificate of occupancy, as already stated. This short-term rental is registered to operate with the county and current on their payment of transient occupancy taxes. This issue has been advertised and adjacent property owners notified as required by law. To date, there are no complaints on file regarding this short-term rental. 2 neighbors have provided letters of support for this request, and they were included in your packet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions before I open it up?
Can I ask one, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Have they paid their transfer occupancy tax? It's blank on the application.
Yes, they have.
Okay, all right. Floor is now open for comments. Yes, sir.
Good evening. It's getting late. I'm Brian Savage. I'm going to skip the script.
Oh, you the applicant?
I am the applicant, yes, sir.
All right.
Should I hold?
Yes.
Okay, will do.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone? Anyone online? All right. Floor is now closed. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I'll skip the preamble. We've submitted the application. I believe we are in complete alignment. I do just want to emphasize we do have a local property management service. She handles about several properties. I don't know exactly how many. Directly in the community here. When we had a water leakage overnight one night, she actually came and stayed overnight to make sure everything stayed fine. So I feel very comfortable in stating that we have local support, and it is included in the permit requirements that somebody be able to respond within 60 minutes to an emergency, to include a guest asking for help. So although I know that doesn't directly address Mr. Costello's concern, I think it implicitly addresses that concern there. Lastly, I do have the enthusiastic support of my neighbors. We're good friends, and frankly, they're entertainment for anybody who comes by. This was not a business venture for us. This is a family need to, this is going to be our retirement home. We're looking forward to being, at some point, before the crowd cleared out, longtime residents here. But in the short term, I've got a couple of kids, and we need to maximize our ability to generate some income on their behalf. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any questions, comments? All right, at this time, gentlemen, I move that we approve the request based upon the applicant's ability to obtain a certificate of occupation and continue compliance with the requirements of Article 29 for unhosted short-term rentals. You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, motion passed unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the consensus document be accepted.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, motion passed unanimously. All right.
I gotta put my glasses, it's getting late. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the invoices for the month of September 24 and the amount of total invoices, $3,867,508.87. Total payroll, $442,662.79, for a total of $4,310,168.66, of which capital improvements were $3,261,389.51, and ARPA funds of $12,744.59.
Okay, you all heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, Mrs. Hall.
Oliver.
Uh-oh. I don't have this one in front of me. Don, can you read that
Take
one?
that title from Cassie.
You want me to take it?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is to review the site plan for the proposed commercial seafood landing processing facility with wholesale and retail sales to be located on Annie-Poison Creek in Whitestone on property owned by Stay the Course LLC. This property is zoned M1 Industrial Limited and consists of two parcels totaling 6.84 acres, tax maps 35-225 and 225A. As you know, this property is located at the end of Harpers Creek Drive. Article 9, the industrial zoning district of the county, has a paragraph that states that any site plan for proposed activities within the industrial district that require a building permit and involve land disturbance greater than 2,500 square feet be referred to the Planning Commission for recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. This site plan has been to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission has forwarded it to the board by a vote of 6-0. Staff has conducted a preliminary site plan review for conformance with the zoning ordinance, Chesapeake Bay Act, ENS, and there are no zoning issues with the proposed fisheries facility, boat ramp, and fishing pier. Everything is permitted in the M1 district. No issues with Chesapeake Bay Act. This facilities meet the definition of water-dependent facility, which allows additional encroachment within the 100-foot RPA. The owner will be obtaining some nutrient credits to address stormwater management requirements. The owner, as you know, also wishes to enter into a public-private partnership with the county to provide public access to state waters. As you also know, the need for public access to state waters is well documented in the comprehensive plan, Chapter 5. You have highlighted sections in your package. It's safe to say that at least one objective for every goal listed in Chapter 5 of the comprehensive plan, access to state waters, will be fulfilled with this site plan of development. The board had previously unanimously voted in open meeting at its June meeting in 2023 to enter into a letter of intent to lease real estate with Stay the Course LLC to develop a lease agreement for a public access site on these parcels. And as you also know, that lease agreement is currently under negotiation. So to make a long story short, I would ask that you acknowledge the site plan's conformance with the comp plan and approve it.
All right, gentlemen. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the site plan and make it align to, prove that it's aligned with our comp plan.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote. Pass unanimously. Okay. Board reports. I'd like to make an appointment, or reappointment rather, Billy Barrett, reappointed to the EDA. All right, you heard that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the appointment's passed unanimously. Any other board reports? All right, hearing none. County report, administrative report.
Mr. Chairman, I addressed what I was going to speak about during the presentation part after John made his presentation on the activity going on at Windmill Point. So I'll defer any other statements.
Okay. At this particular time?
Ready for the motion? I move that the Board of Supervisors enter into a closed meeting for one, personnel per section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia as amended. 2, acquisition, disposition of real property per section 2.23711A3 of the Code of Virginia as amended. And for legal matters per section 2.23711A8 of the Code of Virginia as amended.
All of you have heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, motion passed unanimously. We are now in closed session. I move that the Langston County Board of Supervisors adopt the following certification resolution. Whereas the Langston County Board of Supervisors convened in a closed meeting on September 26, 2024, pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote on the motion to close the meeting to discuss personnel, legal matters, and acquisition, disposition of real property in accordance with section paragraph 2.2-3711.A.1 and 2.2-3711A8 and 2.2-3711.A.3 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas paragraph 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Langston County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, number one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act was heard, discussed, or considered in a closed meeting to which this certification applies. And two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. Before a vote is taken on this resolution, is there any member who believes that there was a departure from the requirements of number one and number two above? If so, identify yourself and state the substance of the matter and why, in your judgment, it was a departure. Hearing no statement, I call the question. Mr. Bellows.
I certify.
Mr. Lee.
I certify.
Mr. Geezy.
I certify.
Mr. Smith.
I certify.
Mr. Palin, I certify. The certification resolution is adopted.
I move that we adjourn.
I've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We adjourn.